Thanks for coming. Obviously, we didn't have a game this weekend. I didn't really review the Rutgers, so if there's any questions about that, I'll answer any questions for you.
Front row right here, Austin. Urban, there was some confusion when you looked at the drug and alcohol policy on Saturday. At least I had a hard time reading it. Is it correct to read it that JT did not need to be suspended and you chose to suspend him?
That's correct. It counts as, I believe, as a positive, and that would be his first. So there's no punishment. Counseling, he has to do counseling and some other things through the university, and that will be done.
So how did you arrive at the one game?
Unfortunately, I had one several years back, and we did it for a game. I try to collect as many facts as I can about what actually happened. I meet with a player. I meet with Gene Smith. Obviously, a very serious one. And then come to conclusion, we had a one game. He's also losing a he forfeited a scholarship for a term. You know, I've done that before. The last issue we had like this, it wasn't quite as serious, was like the Muhort thing, and they lost their scholarship. And so when a kid has an issue like that, there's some type of punitive damage as far as missing a game or something, and then they forfeit their scholarship at some point. They can earn it back.
If I can ask one more about the quarterbacks then. Cardale's been in this situation before to come in, maybe a little bit unexpected as the backup. What's different about maybe your confidence level in him for this start now that he's got 10 under his belt as opposed to Wisconsin?
Oh, night and day. Yeah, Cardale's, plus he had a great week of practice last week. He's engaged. He handled everything like a man. He threw for 300 yards a couple weeks ago at a 75% clip. He's 10-0 as a starter. Yeah, it's not even hesitation.
Front row middle, Dave.
Coach, do you have any type of policy when a player's coming off suspension that he would not start his first game back, or is that up in the air? When JT comes,
I'm sorry?
When JT comes back off suspension, would he be eligible to start right away, or do you have a policy where a player coming off suspension?
No, he's if he's good enough and if he's earns that right. I haven't even gone that far yet.
And quick question about some of the wide receivers that are banged up. Paris Campbell, Dontre Wilson, Johnny Dixon. Do you expect any of those guys will be able to help for the stretch run?
Dontre had a procedure done to his foot. He's questionable for this week. Who was the other one? Paris Campbell, is questionable. We'll find out today, more today. Johnny Dixon won't play this week. He has a little micro fracture into his knee right below his patella, so it's going to be a couple more weeks.
Back left, Jared.
Yeah, Urban, speaking specifically about quarterbacks, you have an opportunity here with Cardale to move back into that role. The red zone production was a concern for you, and obviously Maryland and Penn State, JT assumed that role, did a nice job for you. Is there thinking about looking at ways to maybe involve Braxton in that role this week?
We're not there yet. It's still early in the week, so we're having those conversations now.
Second row left, Lori.
Coach, you talk about players peaking at the right time all the time. Your players do too. What do coaches do so that they are also at their best when they need to be in November and bowl season?
I've never been asked that. That's a great question. I'm not sure. What do coaches do to peak at the right time? Wow. Bill, thoughts? That's a great, Gene's in. That's great for the leadership class. I think coaches are a product of their. That's a great question. It's a product of knowing who your personnel is and the meshing, like our offensive staff right now. When you have transition of two coaches, the normalcy is it takes a minute, and that minute has gone by. And I'm really pleased with the conversations and the execution of what goes on during game day. So that's one way to make sure we're on point, and really understanding what I think coaches. And we've all been there, including our staff, many times where you don't put them in position to do what they can do very well. And that's when I see like our defensive staff, they're doing a very good job of doing what guys can do well. Offensive staff, obviously there's a new wrinkle now. We got a little issue that we're going to spend a lot of time on with the guy said about the red zone. So just getting guys in position to do the right thing, that they can do what their skill sets say they can do. And that takes an incredible amount of time because every player is different.
Michigan Saban's been announced as a new kickoff matter to you? You like sticking with tradition and
Oh,
getting
yeah.
prep for the next
Yeah,
one?
I grew up watching that, and I don't think that I'm fine, and we'll worry about this one right now, though.
Front row right, Tim?
Yeah, Urban, number one, you were here in '86 or '87 when Earl Bruce had some situations he had to deal with and had to deal with immediately and stuff. As a coach, do you evolve into, you understand nationally you've gotten some criticism for what went on down in Florida. You've addressed that in the past and stuff. But it seems like since you've been at Ohio State, you've been pretty, I don't know if quick's the right word, but to execute the punishment, et cetera. Has there been an evolution with you in that regard, or has it always been etched in stone of what happens, this happens, this happens?
No, I think
Let's point out the fact that obviously we were told that JT was not subject to a suspension based on the school rules.
yeah, I've unfortunately I've read some of the things said about our time down there, and now's not the time to, whether it's exaggerated. I'm seeing these numbers show up that they just keep it growing, and but I'm not, one's too many. But we've been, if you do your homework and research, everybody's been either suspended. The one thing that I look back on, if I've given too many second chances to people, and my evaluation of that is I'd probably continue to do it, because if decisions aren't made, public opinion, you don't make decisions with people's lives and livelihood. We've done tried to do the right thing, and here I don't see knock on wood, there hasn't been many, and we act quickly. Gene's been tremendous help for me. Is what do you think, Gene? And it's a very clear conversation, and let's do the right thing. And when it's a core value issue, then it's a really tough situation. When it's a horrible mistake or a mistake, then you try to put some discipline so that mistake's not made again. And but I seek advice from Gene, and like when I was down in Florida, Jeremy, and I think we've done fine. I don't. Now's not to go back. We're moving forward, and disappointed it happened. We did what we did, and we got to move forward.
And does JT lose his captaincy?
I visited with some older players about that. My initial reaction was he might, and let me just talk to some guys, but it was very strong with the leadership on the team to know. I'm still in my own mind going through that. And as of now, no.
And one other thing, Minnesota, obviously they lose Jerry Kill last week. They come within a half a yard. What do you expect from Minnesota on Saturday?
I think they played their best game. They were very inspired, played tremendous in that game on both sides of the ball against a very good team. So I think they're an excellent team. They're hitting their stride right now as well.
Front row left, Doug?
Urban, we know every coach has to deal with off-field stuff like this at times. How do you sort of view drunk driving in the things that happen with players, just the nature of that offense?
Well, it's horrible. It's obviously the first thing is make sure no one's hurt and find out exactly what happened. We educate nonstop about domestic, about alcohol, about drugs. It's out there. I've had to deal with it one other time, I believe, and it was. It's just something that I go right to the administration because I want to find out, make sure we're doing it right by the university first, and then team second, because obviously there's been some horrible things happens with drunk driving.
And how does this affect how you view JT Barrett?
Tough. He came over my house, and I love JT. I'm not ashamed to say that. He's like a child. He's like one of my favorite guys I've ever got to coach. He's JT's going to have to deal with something that he's never had to deal with. When you say you're too short, you don't run fast enough, and your arm strength's not good, and you're an average quarterback, you can deal with that. You just not work it. And it's a little bit like when a coach, you're not a good coach. Okay, we're not a good coach. When they start attacking who you are, especially people who don't know who you are. And I told him that's the toughest thing he'll ever have to deal with, is that now there's some questions who you are. And I imagine he's never had to deal with that because JT's always been JT. And yes, he may be a little too short. His arm strength maybe not, that. And he can deal with that. How do you deal with that? You work a little harder. How do you deal with, what is he, 20 years of doing right and 30 seconds of doing wrong, or 3 minutes, whatever it was? That's real, though. And that's something he's going to have to deal with. And I'm going to try to help him. We all are going to try to help him because that's going to be that's the that's the toughest thing he'll have to deal with as far as protecting his name.
Do you view this more as guys make mistakes, or does this lead you to maybe question his decision making?
Oh, first is question his decision making, and find out. Then I want to find out exactly what happened, monitor him very closely, and use it as an education opportunity for our players too.
Back row left, Marty.
Coach, you just kind of noted your message to JT. What was his message to you when he walked into your
Devastation. Well, he came to my house on whatever day that was, the next day, and blown away, devastated. You know, all his concern was about the team, as you can imagine. Ever since I've known JT, all it is about the team. When we went through the quarterback stuff about who's going to play quarterback, he said, "Coach, I'm fine. I just want to help this team," and he feels like he let the team down.
How did you learn the news?
A text message at about 6 a.m. on whatever day that was, I guess Saturday morning.
How did you react?
I told Shelley, I said, then I got up, I actually called the person who texted me, and I said, did I read this right? And then went about the next 6 hours dealing with it.
Front row middle, Bill.
All my questions. JT had the incident last year that was, nothing came of it. Does that the combination of that and then this year make you, again, add to the
Yes,
questions?
it does. Yeah, I had chats with him about that last year and then this year, and those chats will not discontinue. And also his family involvement, and understands that the starting quarterback at Ohio State, or a quarterback at Ohio State, but all of us here held to standards, and decision making, I think, was brought up earlier.
And did he have, did you ask him to give you any explanation for why he did what he did Saturday?
Oh, sure. I'm not going to share that with you guys, but yeah, obviously he didn't think he was above he felt fine, and I will tell you that he said I didn't even cross my mind, because I don't drink much, and I'm not sure now is the place to have that conversation. But yeah, I said, why would you do this? And he said, Coach, it didn't even cross my mind, because I didn't have that much, and I was fine, and I was helping someone else out to give him a ride home.
He left to give somebody else a ride?
Yes.
And Cardale was the one who, he was released to Cardale's care. Was Cardale with him at
No.
that time? So Cardale came and picked him up?
Yes.
Last couple questions. Far right, Clay?
That was it, about you to know more about the circumstance. Does that speak to their friendship? That you can root
Cardell and
for?
JT? Yeah, that's obviously, they're very close.
And last question, Ari.
Coach, you mentioned that you haven't had a discussion yet about Braxton's role, but A, is he healthy enough to assume that role if you guys feel like you might need him, even if he's a backup? And who in your mind right now, if something were to happen to Cardale, is Braxton your guy at quarterback, or do you go to one of the other guys?
As of right now, it'd be Braxton. We're right in the middle of those conversations. But there's no question that he's our number 2 quarterback.
So when he's been involved in just the progression of learning the wide receiver position, would it be very hard for him to get back into the swing of things? Was he going to work out quarterback in practice?
I think almost every game he has a package of quarterback play, and so as far as the mechanics of getting to play, we're at home too, which is good. Getting to play to the it's not just running around the end. It's getting everybody lined up, getting to play, getting the formation and all that. And that's the things when you try to say, hey, let's Zeke do some direct snaps. That's hard. You remember last year we did that to Jalen as well. Braxton, that's no issue. It's just a matter of fact, he can throw. How prepared is he to throw? So we're going to work that this week as well, and get him ready to go.